Nur Masalha, Palestine, a 4,000-year history. In this comprehensive and insightful summary of Nur Masalha's book, Palestine, a 4,000-year history, we delve into the vast and intricate history of the region now understood as Palestine and Israel. This crucial piece of history tells the story of the Philistines, ancient civilizations, the origins of the names Palestine and of Philistia, and their connection throughout history. We examine how the region was influenced by various empires and rulers, such as the Egyptian, Roman, and Byzantine, before the emergence of Islam and its transformative impact on the region.
Philistine Discoveries. The 2017 discovery of a Philistine graveyard near Ashkelon debunked the theory that Philistines were Aegean Sea pirates and proved that they were indigenous to the land. 5 inscriptions found at the graveyard read Peleset, which is an early written form of Palestine. The existence of indigenous Philistines is supported by ancient texts such as an Egyptian text that describes the neighboring peoples against whom the Egyptians fought. This conflicts with the biblical Canaanite narrative and confirms that Canaan is only a biblical term used to describe Phoenicia. Philistia corresponds to modern-day Israel and Palestine and was the region directly to the south of Phoenicia. At the turn of the Iron Age, Philistines developed a sophisticated urban civilization and established extensive trade networks with Egypt, Phoenicia, and Arabia. The cultural history of Palestine. The region now known as Palestine has been home to various cultures and religions for over 1,200 years, from the polytheistic trade-rich society described by the father of history, Herodotus, to the diverse mix of Greek, Aramaic, and Arabic-speaking practitioners of Christianity and Judaism, to the Roman administrators who expanded infrastructure and renamed cities, including Jerusalem, which became Aelia Capitolina. Pomponius Mela and Philo were among the many historical figures who documented the shift in the region's name from Syria Palestina to Palestine. This name would go on to define the land between Lebanon and Egypt until the Islamic conquest in 637 AD. Greater Palestine, the cradle of early Christianity. When Christianity became the Roman state religion, Palestine's significance increased as the birthplace of Jesus and the core of Christianity. The now Christian Byzantine Roman Empire split Palestine into 3 administrative regions, which were united religiously, culturally, and politically until the Muslim period in the 7th century. Greater Palestine, including Caesarea Maritima, hosted a mix of religions, languages, and ethnicities and was famous for its great libraries and philosophical centers. Basic education widely available, even in villages, aimed to provide state and church structures with competent leaders. Palestine's Arab population was also enlarged with Christian Arabs migrating from Yemen, who later ruled over the region centuries before Islam's arrival. The impact of Muslim conquest on Palestine. The Muslim conquest of Palestine had a profound impact on the region, cementing the use of Arabic language and resulting in the Islamization and Arabization of the mostly Christian population. The transition to Arabic was relatively smooth due to its close relation to Aramaic, the most common language at the time. The Muslims' religious and cultural tolerance allowed for intense urbanization, particularly in Jerusalem, resulting in the construction of grand religious monuments. Despite various Zionist narratives presenting early Muslim Palestine as a region in decline, the economy thrived, with exports such as olive oil, wine, soap, and glassware reaching Mediterranean and European markets. The Muslim conquest and the subsequent Golden Age of Islam helped Palestine become a technologically and culturally advanced region. Palestine under Muslim rule. Muslim rule restored in Palestine after legendary military commander Salah al-Din's victory at the Battle of Hittin in 1187. Despite not being able to retake the coastal city of Acre, his descendants freed it from Crusader rule in 1291. Ayyubids, who brought some vital administrative changes in Palestine, appointed Jerusalem as its capital city, which it maintained for the next 700 years. The Mamluk dynasty's rule after the defeat of Mongol invaders in 1260 brought peace and a period of renaissance and construction in Jerusalem and other inland cities. The city's famous white stone architecture flourished, many of which can still be seen today. The first autonomous Palestinian state. Palestine's statehood dates back to the 18th century when Palestinians formed their own state and identity as a nation. The first Palestinian state was the result of a people's uprising against oppressive forces, led by Daher al-Umar al-Zaydani. Under his leadership, Palestine became an economic powerhouse, with a booming cotton industry and fair taxation system that financed urban development projects. This autonomous Palestinian state lasted from the 1720s until the death of al-Umar in 1775, making it the first moment of Palestinian self-rule. Despite conventional historians citing the British Mandate of Palestine as the first example of Palestinian self-rule, this is incorrect. British colonialism's roots in Palestine. After Napoleon failed to capture Palestine in 1799, British colonial interest in the region began to grow. British evangelicals and travel companies flocked to the area, and a delegation arrived in 1871 to create detailed maps of Palestine. As the Ottoman Empire was at risk of collapse, the British prepared to take on the role of colonial power in Palestine. The British Palestine Exploration Fund, run partly by biblical scholars with an evangelical interest in the region, also evidenced growing British interest. Palestinian nationalism was also on the rise, predating Zionism by half a century, and accelerated by developments such as the growth of secular education and increased literacy. The newspaper Philistine became widely distributed, acting as an important anti-imperialist outlet and championing Palestinian national identity. Eventually, in the context of World War I, Britain achieved its century-long goal and occupied Palestine, governing it as the new British Mandate of Palestine. The Zionist colonialism of Palestine. The Zionism ideology of the 19th century was similar to European colonialism in its belief that European interests were superior to those of colonized indigenous people. However, unlike British colonialism that aimed for economic benefits, Zionism sought to replace the indigenous Palestinian population with non-Palestinian Jews. The Zionist myth of Palestine being a land without a people for a people without a land was a fabrication that allowed British Christian Zionists to support the establishment of a Jewish state in Palestine. The Balfour Declaration of 1917 made it official British policy to support the creation of a Jewish state in Palestine. However, the success of a Jewish state meant the forcible removal of the Palestinians from their ancestral homeland. The Declaration of the State of Israel in 1948 saw the Zionist militants cleanse the city of Jaffa of its Muslim and Christian Arab inhabitants and replace them with white, European settlers, creating an ethnically pure, white Jewish colony in the Middle East. Erasing Palestine's past. After the Nakba in 1948, where Zionists ousted most of the original inhabitants, they set a systematic process to wipe out Palestinian history. This process included creating a new language, modern Hebrew, which heavily relied on appropriating Palestinian Arabic words. Zionists also changed their surnames to sound more biblical. Despite being faced with settlers replacing them, the Palestinian culture remains resilient. Cultural identity is prevalent among Palestinian civil society through novels, films, archives, websites, etc. Palestinian institutions need to focus back on their unique history.
As we conclude this compelling historical journey through the rich past of the region, we can see that Palestine's roots weave an extensive and diverse tapestry. Major archaeological findings unveiled the Philistine graveyard near modern-day Ashkelon, which debunked previous Israeli theories that they were Aegean pirates by proving that they were, in fact, indigenous peoples. Furthermore, significant periods of history, such as ancient Egyptian accounts, the Roman Empire and the Islamic conquest, all show how Palestine has evolved over thousands of years. Through these historical events, we see that despite today's challenges in the region, the enduring legacy of Palestinian culture and identity remains alive and well.